Hello musicians, welcome back. My name is Bucky Dirtle and I am doing a video tutorial today on Bifaco's Spring Reverb. And this is part of the VCV rack DAW, but specifically I'm doing this guy right here, the Spring Reverb. I'm going to, let me zoom in a little bit here for you so you can have a little look at the interface for this reverb. And like in other videos, I apologize if there's a lot of mess on the screen here. Sometimes we need to have things wired in and it's a little bit of chaos in some of the wiring in order to get the sounds we want. But I'm going to try very carefully to not confuse you with all the stuff that's set up here. I'll go over that in a second. So here's the Spring Reverb, the Bifaco Spring Reverb. It's pretty cool. It does a few things really well. So let's go over that. Now before I do, let's have a quick little look at our overall rack here and what is going on to make the sound that you're going to hear. Okay, first of all, we have the Turing machine right here. This is the Music Thing modular Turing machine. Right here, this guy is going to be producing the notes that you're going to be hearing. So that's that. Also up top here, we're going to have our trummer, which is by Volt. This is going to be providing a little bit of percussion sound for us. Okay. All those two things are driving the sound. Okay. But the notes are going to be cued in by this guy here. This is a JW grid sequencer. This is going to be telling us which notes to play and controlling the gate information and stuff like that. Okay, so that is controlling trummer and controlling the Music Thing modular. Okay, now then Music Thing modular is connected up through, well, the quantizer, but we'll talk about that another time. Actually, another video is on this one. But then it goes into this modular synth right here. This is Audible Instruments. This is a really cool synth. Gives us a nice little sound. You'll hear it in a minute. But that's going to give us our sound, okay, from the Turing machine. Okay, so that's basically creating the sound. And then there's some controllers, ADSRs here, some LFOs, ADSR, our VCAs here, and our mixer. We have some other kind of filter stuff over here going on. But no worries with that. That's just things to color the sound. So this is the sound we're getting, okay? Here we go. Okay, so that's the sound. And I put my clock, normally my clock would be all the way, I'd put it over here so the wires wouldn't be, the patch cables wouldn't be stretched all across, but I put it over next to the Spring Reverb here so that we can stop and start it really easy. Okay, so let's have a talk about the Spring Reverb. And I'm going to zoom back in now so we can see our Spring Reverb nice and clear. All right, pardon me for a second till I move us around a little. There we go. All right, here we go. Spring Reverb. So here we go. Now, first of all, we have our inputs. We have two inputs. We can input right here, number 1. We can input number 2. So we can actually run 2 different things into here. And we may try that a little later, see how we're doing for time. I may show you 2 inputs, but for now I only have 1. I have the Turing machine, which is giving us our melody. That's going into the Spring Reverb. And that goes into here. Now, when when that goes in, we control the level that the Turing machine, the input from the Turing machine is putting into the Spring Reverb with this slider. And this slider acts as like a VCA. Okay, controls the VCA. So let's just hit go on our clock again, and let's have a listen to that. So if I turn it all the way down, actually before I do that, let's do this. So if I turn it all the way down, we're just hearing the original sound from the Turing machine. Okay, so now if I turn it up, it acts like a VCA for the Spring Reverb. So you can hear, I'm hearing more of the reverb signal now. I'm still hearing the original sound equally, but I'm able to mix it. So what this does for us, we can use this with our Spring Reverb wet dry, which I'll talk about in a second, set at the default center. We would get kind of an equal balance. So you'd find where the equal balance is for you, or something we like, okay? And which is giving us a good level. You can see we don't want to go too high because it will clip. If we go too high, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do it here with this because it's pretty mild signal. But if you go too high, it's going to be clipping, and you don't want that. So somewhere, so you're getting a good signal on the reverb, you know, probably touching 12. That will be good. So this acts as a VCA for the Spring Reverb affected sound, okay, not the original sound. Then we have up top, we have a dry wet. Now you've heard me talk about this in other tutorials about dry and wet. Dry is the original sound. You can hear it there. It's just the original sound from the Turing machine. And if I go all wet, that's entirely the Spring Reverb sound. Okay? And right dead center is the equal balance based on where we put our slider. Okay, now one little note is that if this has control voltage in, we can control this with an LFO or whatever we want. And at that point, this becomes an attenuator. So at that point, then we can turn down our signal if we want. This has a different kind of role then, but it still controls the level, but it does it in a different fashion. But that's something, if you run an LFO in, you can still use this to control the amount of signal, but you can take it away. Okay, anyway, I don't want to dwell on that too much. Now, if we have a second input, let me just stop my clock. If we have a second input, we can put it into here. Okay, like let's say if we wanted to put our drum machine in, we could do that, our drum machine. Our percussion sound we're getting from the Volt Trummer 2 module, we could come into this sound, and we control the level with this guy here. Okay, so that's what we do. Now, and again, then we'd have our wet and dry. We could choose how much wet and dry we want to do on that, and maybe we'll do that in a minute. Next thing, if you wanted to take out, if you wanted to, sometimes you'll want to not use the mixing effect, or sorry, controller in here. You might not want to use it. This may not give you the results you want. Sometimes what you want to do is you want to have a perfectly dry signal from your, well, in this case here, if you look up above, it's coming in from our VCA. You see this is coming in from our VCA. Well, you might want to keep this perfect signal and use it somewhere else. And then you might want to take you might want a Spring Reverb sound that will be only the Spring Reverb, absolutely pure. And what that would, you would use the wet out. Let me just show you what that sounds like. I'm going to push play again. This is the balanced here. But if I take, instead of going out now, this is my out right here, okay, from the mix, okay? So instead of coming out from the mix, I come out from wet. And so you can hear it's a strong 100% wet sound. Now, if I wanted to use that sound for something else, I can. So it gives me that option. That's a really nice option. I could always do a little mix in here if I wanted to, and still take the wet out to another device. Who knows? It's a lot of things you could do. Okay, so let me just stop this again. Now, as with a lot of modules, we have voltage control over a lot of things here. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one last thing. I forgot our high-pass filter. Now, when we are inputting here, we have our in going in here. The signal is coming in as a full range, full frequency signal. I'm not filtering it, although I could, but I'm not. If I wanted to, I can then filter the in before it gets to my Spring Reverb, before it gets to the actual spring itself, okay? Before it gets to that, the tank, the spring tank. I can run a high-pass filter through it. Now, just check this out. If I push play again, now, if like this is mixed, so let me put this more wet so you can hear. If I then come up with this, it's hard to hear with this. Yeah, it's hard to hear it with this signal that's coming in. But what this is doing is it's acting as a high-pass filter. So, and the reason why it does that is it can keep the low frequencies out of the tank. See, if you have a spring reverb and you put a whole load of low frequencies into the spring reverb, it just overloads the tank. It overloads the spring reverb. So what a high-pass filter does is it allows only the higher frequencies to go into the tank. So on the in, right here, that high-pass filter is applied to the in. So that will keep the tank clear, so it will only be responding to higher frequencies, which is what a spring reverb tends to do better anyway. You can decide how high you want that to be because that's your cutoff, okay? So that's that. Now back to the control voltages. There's a control voltage for the amount of attenuation, or sorry, like this VCA level here. There's an amount we can control that will control voltage. We can go to an LFO or something. We can do it on number 2 as well. I'm an input 2 as well. Sorry about that. We can also control our mix button, our mix dial right here, with the control voltage as well. So we can control those things here. So that's pretty standard. I've showed you that in other tutorials. So you can have a look at how to do that with an LFO. So that's that. That's basically it. Now I was going to tell you I was going to show you a second input if we had time, and I think we do have some time. So I'm going to push play here. You can hear we have our spring reverb on our signal from the Turing machine, but we don't have it on the drum. So you can hear there's a very faint drum sound here. It's not really loud, but there is a drum sound. You can hear it's right here. So what I'll do is I'll come in from there, and then I'll go out of the mix. Actually, the mix is already going because it's already mixed here. So, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to come in here. Yeah, so now let's hear. I'm going to get rid of this input 1 so that we can hear nice and clearly what that drum is going to sound like. Now, yeah, you hear that? Now see, it's a lot of low sound, so yeah, you can hear that. Yeah, now see, that may not be very desirable because it's just such a faint little low sounding drum sound. It doesn't really work well in spring reverb, so it's not something that we want to use. But it's possible to use it. So there you go. I mean, it is possible. It's not very effective. Okay, so but hopefully that gives you an idea. And you could have 1 and 2. You can balance the two to some degree with this, especially if you're coming from a VCA into this. You can also control the level on the VCA before it enters into your 1 here. I'm not controlling it from the VCA. I'm coming right out of this filter right into number 2. So that's probably not a great idea. I probably should go to a VCA first, then go into here. So just a thought. So that is it. That is the spring reverb. It's a great little reverb. I've covered other reverb units as well. This one's really nice. And there are others to cover as well from other manufacturers. So good stuff. If you enjoy this spring reverb, be sure to show your support to the makers of the spring reverb. Go to their website and show your support. Thank you very much for watching once again. Good luck with your music. Be sure to leave me comments in the comments box, and I will be happy to get back to you. Good luck with your music, and I will see you next time.